Chapter 96 begins as Destroyer Number 2, Kaga, with Sugimoto, the Vice Guild Master of the Blade Guild. He informs the crew that the operation will commence shortly and orders the activation of the jamming signals. Once activated, the signal targets Jeju Island, and the ants are immediately affected, with their antennas seemingly deactivated. As a result, the ants can no longer hear their queen calling for help. The scene then shifts to the Japanese Bravo team, where Tawada slashes an ant right in front of Atsushi, who is taken by surprise. Tawada scolds him, telling him to get it together and warns that if he doesn't get used to this, he'll end up dead. Meanwhile, in the Charlie team, Shimizu and Fujishima have a conversation. Shimizu suggests that it might be quicker to simply kill all the ants instead of waiting for the South Korean team to kill the queen. Fujishima responds and said maybe. He then asks where Kinzo is, to which Shimizu replies that he's playing tag and snapping the wings off ants one by one. Fujishima chuckles, commenting that Kinzo seems to be having fun, even though he's acting like a child. In the Delta team, Kei and Izawa are looking at the top of the mountain, noticing fireworks going off near the tunnels. Izawa speculates that it might be Choi Jong-in's doing. Kei comments that with his ice and Jong-in's fire, he wonders what would happen if the two of them fought. Izawa quips that it would be cold and hot. In the background, many ants can be seen frozen by Kei's skill. The scene then shifts to the ant tunnels inside Mount Halasan. The hunters mention that it was once famous for its beauty, but has now been reduced to a wasteland, nothing but an ant colony. The scene shifts to Jong-in, who has placed a flame prison at the entrance of Mount Halasan. He explains that he usually uses it to trap enemies, but now it serves as a shield to prevent ants of B rank or lower from entering. Jong-in suddenly sits down, preparing to cast a spell. He announces that he's going to find a way, and suddenly, a barrage of fireballs appears above them. He directs the fireballs into the ant tunnels. Yoon-ho watches in shock, exclaiming, "What the heck? That's dangerous," as the fireballs zip past them. Jong-in calmly explains that the ants' lair is like a labyrinth, and entering a random path could lead them back to where they started, just like his fireballs. As the fireballs travel through various tunnels, Jong-in notices one and comments, "I think I found what I'm looking for." There are no signs of explosions in this particular tunnel, indicating it likely leads deep inside. Impressed by Jong-in's skill and calmness, Yoon-ho feels reassured that having him on their team is a great asset. After that, Jong-in leads the team, saying, "Let's go in." The scene shifts to Jin-woo, who is exercising in a park. His system shows that he has completed a 10-kilometer run. At this point, his stats are as follows: Strength 219, Health 200, Agility 230, Intelligence 250, and Sense 200. His physical damage reduction is at 46%. He notices that the park, which is usually empty, is completely deserted today. He wonders if the broadcast for the Jeju Island raid has started. Jin-woo acknowledges that the South Korean and Japanese S-rank hunters are all incredibly strong, so there's no need to watch the broadcast. Even without him, he knows they are capable of completing the raid, provided everything goes according to plan. Back with the South Korean hunters, an ant is pierced by an arrow shot by Taegyu. Jong-in informs him that, aside from a few remaining ants, most have left the tunnel, confirming their predictions. Taegyu notes that this is the first time he's seen creatures like these and asks where the Queen's royal guard is. He remarks that the ants seem weak and observes that their eyes look deteriorated, which suggests they've evolved into better guards for the dark tunnels. Taegyu adds, "If that's the case, it will make things easier for us. However, if these aren't the royal guards, we can just breeze through using our firepower." Byung-gu, on the other hand, expresses concern, wondering if the queen is nearby and whether she might have betrayed her subjects and run away. Yoon-ho dismisses the idea, stating that it's impossible because the ants are trapped on the island with nowhere to run. The cameraman, noticing the extreme darkness, wonders if his camera is picking up the area clearly, but reassures himself that the staff at headquarters will handle the editing. The team advances deeper into the tunnels, with Jong-in lighting the way with a fireball in his hand. Suddenly, Jong-in is struck with shock as they discover the ants' spawning ground. He realizes that the Queen's chamber is likely nearby. He explains that the ants they fought earlier were stationed here to protect the eggs. Jong-in adds that he will set them all on fire. Hae-in stops him, noticing an especially large, hatched egg. Byung-gu is horrified and asks, "Is that an ant egg?" He wonders aloud what could possibly hatch from it, speculating that it could be a royal guard. Before he can finish speaking, Yoon-ho taps him on the shoulder and reminds him that their goal is to defeat the queen, urging him to forget everything else. Byung-gu remains silent, but his face shows his concern. In Yoon-ho's mind, he understands Byung-gu's apprehension, but they must focus on the task at hand. He mutters to himself, "Those monsters," as the team stares at the massive hatched egg in front of them. The scene then shifts to the Japanese Charlie team, where Shimizu, Fujishima, and Kinzo are. Shimizu teases Kinzo, saying he is a hot mess. Kinzo replies that it turned out the flying ants are peskier than he thought. He adds that they attacked using military tactics and flew in battle formation. Kinzo killed 30, but they managed to wound him in the shoulder and waist, as evidenced by the blood splattered on his body while he holds an ant's head. Shimizu jokingly asks if he wants a healing session, but warns that there's a fee. Kinzo, annoyed, tells him to stop being annoying and heal him already. Shimizu responds, saying that she has something she wants from Kinzo, but it's not money. Kinzo retorts that Shimizu makes more money than he does, mocking her for being obsessed with money at such a young age. Kinzo suddenly notices more ants heading their way and warns Shimizu to hurry up. Shimizu teases him further, but as he turns to face the approaching ants, Shimizu's head is suddenly sliced off in an instant. Kinzo is shocked, and Fujishima reacts in disbelief as they realize that Shimizu was killed by an opponent in the blink of an eye. Kinzo shouts that they need to be careful, but before he can finish, an ant with glowing red eyes charges at him. Kinzo attempts to punch it, calling it a bastard, but the ant quickly crushes his head, and in an instant, Kinzo is dead. Fujishima watches in shock as Kinzo's head is sliced off just as quickly. Fujishima dashes forward, sword in hand, preparing to attack the ant. But before he can land his strike, his head is suddenly sliced off as well, along with his sword. The chapter ends with the mysterious, powerful ant having slain the 3 Japanese S-rank hunters in an instant.